that with every day Ukraine is fighting for not only its freedom, but also for the Western world freedom. So I would like to appreciate the brave soldiers of Ukraine, the brave people of Ukraine, doing this great sacrifice for the freedom. I have no doubts that the values, understanding democratic values, the protection and defense of the freedom, of the democracy, and the free choice, what Ukrainian people are doing, it's priceless. And we in the Western world, we need to be aware and to push the best possible support to Ukraine to win this fight and to achieve the victory in this war. It's my second visit this year, and I was very pleased to see how everything is improving on the Ukrainian side. I engaged the Air Force leadership. They demonstrated what the progress is in this field. The air defense is the most challenging area for Ukraine. Nevertheless, it's amazing what could be done when the brave and creative people and the soldiers of Ukrainian armed forces is doing in the defense of Ukraine. We have Ukrainians, first of all, in the Joint Analysis and Training Education Center in the JTAC, so-called, which is in Poland. And that's a place exactly where Ukrainian experienced officers can bring their experience, can bring their lessons towards the NATO. That institution was created exactly for that purpose, where not only the NATO will be explaining the standards, but more Ukrainian officers and NCOs will bring their experience, share with NATO, and will allow us to prepare much better for the deterrence and defense. Concluding that, I have only positive emotions, remarks, and truly professionalism, which is coming exactly from the Ukrainian officers and NCOs. I will start with the several instruments which are already existing. So you're well aware of, I just mentioned the JTAC, but nevertheless, there is also the comprehensive assistance package, which is allowing also to gather the funds and the expertise, which would share and help Ukrainian institutional development to progress. Then looking from the very simple and from the lethal and not lethal support. So you are well aware of the prioritized Ukrainian requirement list, so-called PEARL. So that's very good initiative, which is very well executed. And I think it's the European allies, together with American ally, is putting the best available resources, funds, and the hardware to support Ukraine in the fight for the freedom. Because your victory in your war, in this war, it's a victory of the rest of the NATO allies. I'm able to participate in the North Atlantic Council sessions as well as the military committee sessions. Every day what I'm hearing is exactly the support and the search for a possibility to support more. Either that would be with the money, which is also very important, or that would be with the weapons or the equipment, which is also very, very important for the soldiers at the front line. Commitment and search for the resources, that's the main key which is driving NATO allies to support Ukraine. I think from my assessment, NATO is doing the great job right now, having 3 pillars which is helping with the training, with the support of the systems, and also at the same time with the PEARL initiative. We're looking on how we can support to develop in the long-term Ukrainian armed forces, which will be the first tool of the deterrence of the future possible conflicts towards the Ukraine. So that's the key future vision, let's put it that way, where NATO will be focusing on the long-term development, which we are talking about 2, 5, 10 years ahead, the development of the Ukrainian armed forces structures. As I mentioned previously, the air defense system, or the area of the air defense, is a challenging one, and it's with a certain difficulties also on the NATO side. Nevertheless, I'm back to this, what I said, that every time NATO allies is looking for the extra step forward, finding the available air and missile defense assets for Ukraine. It's a convincing and long process, as you're well aware what's happening in the public domain, what's the information. So every ally who is in possess of the air defense systems is looking for the possibilities to support Ukraine as much as possible. Nevertheless, we also need to understand that there is an aspect of the defense industry, which the production rates of the defense industry, especially those expensive systems, are not at the level which we would expect, because that would help also us to support Ukraine more. So we need to balance between the available resources the defense industry capacity to produce that, and also from the NATO perspective, the deterrence and defense plans, which is existing also in the realm of the NATO. I think this is the most vital aspect which we need to learn from the NATO perspective towards Ukraine, that during your years from 22 February, you were able to adopt your system, at the same time defending your country, doing innovations, fielding those innovations into the battlefield, and defending that successfully against the enemy. That's exactly this example that we need to be sure that the bureaucratic processes are not stopping the innovation which is necessary for the soldiers on the battlefield. If I would single out the aspect which we need to look into this, that would be the one which I would say this is where we need to look into. The other important aspect is your officers' experience from the battlefield, on the military leadership, on the daily operations. This is also the tactical level of experience, which is very important for the allies to talk with the Ukrainian officers and to exchange that experience. And I'm back to the JTAC, which I think that it's very important structure, because that's the first and the single one structure where the Ukraine and NATO can sit together officially and exchange even the classified information. So that's important, opening the door for the further lesson identified from the Ukrainian side sharing with the NATO. Let me once again appreciate what you're doing for the democratic world, that you are protecting the values not only of Ukraine but the rest of the Western world, and I would like to wish the razom do perimogi.